Now in this video, let us try to clarify the concept of Python list through a Python program demo. So let us try to create a list first. So let's do like list one where I can store some variable, and I believe you are aware of the syntax by now from the previous video. So what do you have to do? The variable name for the list, then equal symbol, and then inside this opening and closing box bracket you have to specify all the elements like 5, 9, 22 and 6, something like this. So let us run this program and let us see whether this is an acceptable syntax or not. So well, there is no error, so it is accepted, but it did not print anything. But you know how to print the content of the list, right? So let us try to print whether list one actually stored, just to see whether list one actually stored all these data item or not. So this is one way of printing the list. So I have used just print list one. So like this, and as you can see, list one have been successfully created and it stored 5, 9, 22 and 6 in here. So that is the first list. And then also I have shown an example in the previous video with all the character elements, like let's say this A, then Z, or anything you can store in here, B, or like let's say D, and let's put some more character just to show you that well, list can be of any length. Like now it has like 1 2 3 4 elements. So but let's do put some more elements, let's say D, then X, then another like Y, then let's say another like U, something like this. So there are lots of elements like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So this time the list 2 has 7 different elements. So let's see whether list 2 can store all the 7 elements or not. So let us print this list 2. So if I just run it now, as you can see, all the 7 elements have been stored in list 2. So and also, as I have mentioned, when you are working with Python, you really do not need to worry about the type of the data item that you are storing in the list. So you can easily store like list 3, let's say create a heterogeneous type of list where all the data elements are of different type. So let's say the first element is nothing but a single character, then the next element is a floating point number or anything, then let's say the third element is nothing but an integer, and then let's say the fourth element is basically a string. Now let's say you can have a fifth element also, which is again let's say another floating point number, like this way, and another string or whatever, let's say Python or something like this. So now the list is like 1 2 3 4 5 6 elements long list, and it has all different types of data item like character, like a floating point number, like a integer, then a full text, another floating point number, like this. So let's see whether it can store everything properly or not. So let us just print the list 3. So here I am printing the list 3, and now if I just run it, as you can see, all the different types of items have been stored properly in this list 3. So now here I would like to clarify another thing. Now you can basically check the type of different data items of which what you are storing inside this list. So well, for that purpose I am going to use a Python function called type. So first let us see what is the type of this list 3. Okay, so let us just print the type of the entire list 3. What type of data type it is, or what type of structure it is. So if I run this program now, as you can okay, I forgot the print statement over here, that's why it did not print anything related to the type. So let's add a print statement and now run it. Now here, as you can see, the list variable is basically of type list. It does not matter what type of list it is. It may be an integer list, it may be a homogeneous string or character list, or it may be a heterogeneous list with many different data types. But this list 3 variable is always of type list. So for example, if I just, let's say, not only list 3, I am just printing the type of list 2. So here also, as we will see, although the type of data element stored in list 3 is very different from the type of data element stored in list 2, but they will return the same type. So for example, as you can see, for list 3 type is also list, and for the list 2 also it printed list. So like this. And not only that, if I just print like type list 1, that will also print the same class list. So for all these different lists, although they are storing different types of item inside, their aggregated the list variable type is always a list. So that's what the type implication of these list variables. Now let us try to print the data type of the elements that are stored inside this list. So how can we do that? You know how to access each element of the list, right? So how can we access each element? I can do like list 3. Let us try to access the element at index 0 of list 3. So what I can do is list 3, then followed by this box bracket, I can type this index 0. So let us just print this list 30. First, let us check whether this list 30 is actually printing this A or not, and then we will discover its type. So if I just run it, as you can see, it is printing A in here. The same way, if I want to print all the other data items in list 3, let's say list 3.1, list 3.2, and then list 3.3, like this. And you can also continue list 3.4 and 5 also in here. So let us see whether they are printing like A 9.3322 and followed by name or not. So if I just run it, as you can see in this part of the code, it printed the content of list 3.0, then list 3.1, which is 9.33, then list 3.2, which is 22 coming from here, and list 3.3 is name, as it is printed in here. So all the data items are being accessed properly. So now let us try to see their uh, type. So data item at list 3 is 0, and now let us try to print their type. So let us type then list 3 0. I'm sorry, so I just messed up with the syntax, so it should be inside box bracket. So first it will print the value and then followed by its type. So let us run this program, and as you can see, A is a class of string. So now at this point, let me just comment out all the other print statements so that you can just focus on this part of code and only learn about type. So here actually, as now let me run it once again. So here this is basically saying A, which is the first member of list 3, and that is of class string. And well, if you want to print the type of all the other data items, all that also you can do like this. So let's see what do they print. So list 1, then list 3 2, list 3 3, like this. So let us see what do they print. So as you can see, A is a class of string, A is type string, then 9.33 is a float, then 22 is of type integer, and name is of type string as expected. So now here just see one thing, that although there are different types of data elements have been stored in the list, but the type of this variable list 3 is always a type list. So always remember that. So that's how you can print the type of the list variables, as well as, which is always type list, and as well as you can print the data type of each of the individual elements of the list. And now just let us see whether we can print all the members of the list utilizing while utilizing a loop or not. So let us say I am starting initializing a variable at 0 at this point, and then I just want to use a while loop, and inside this, let's say while index is less than 5 or something, I am interested to print all the members in list 3 in different lines. So then colon, then inside this print list 3, then index, and finally what I have to do, index plus equals 1, which actually means I'm just incrementing index equals index plus 1, same as writing like this. So let us see whether it can print. So just in order to differentiate it from the other part of the program, print, I'm just adding one print line, print the elements of list 3 accessed by their individual index. So I'm just writing this line to differentiate it, this part from the other part of the program. So here if I just run it, as you can see that it printed like A 9.3322 name, then 67.8654, because I went until 5. Now if you just change it to 6, you can see that, well, Python will also be printed. So let us run it after changing it to 6 in here, from 5 to 6. If I just run it, as you can see, that is A 9.3322 name 67 Python, everything have been printed. So in this video you got lots of things in this video. First, how to initialize the list. Then you have seen the demo that in a Python list you can store any type of data item. Also you have seen how to get the data item of the data type of the list, as well as each individual item. And finally you have seen how to print all the elements stored in a list.